Hey, this is TimmyG. Welcome to my first edition of my new series, which is Producing with Logic Pro Stock Plugins. In this episode, I'm going to show you guys how to make a dubstep track using only Logic Pro stock plugins. And the whole purpose of this mini-series is to show you that you don't need a bunch of fancy, expensive plugins to make some pretty cool sounds. So anyway, let's just jump into it. So here I made this little 8-bar dubstep beat. I'll play it for you guys right now. So we're just gonna make a little 8-bar drop. If you've seen my tutorial before, I'm gonna add a sub bass to this right now, and I showed you guys how to make a sub bass in a previous tutorial. So I have that here, and I saved it as a preset. So I'm just gonna go to setting, right here, sub bass. And I'm just going to add a simple sub bass line. And let's say that I'm going to have my key be F. So here we go. Here's my sub note. The velocity, I turn it up, but that probably won't matter. I'll do some simple quarter notes. And this is an ES2 sub bass, by the way. So this is still technically a stock plugin. So if you're listening with a subwoofer or some good headphones, you can hear that heavy bass right there. And I use the, I'll make this a little bigger. I use this equalizer sometimes just to see where the frequencies are. So if you play this, there's that low frequency. Anyway, to get into the actual creation of a dubstep bass using the stock plugins, there's all sorts of things you can do. But what I've been doing recently a lot is using the retro synth. So I'm going to open a new software instrument and go to the retro synth right here and creating the track. And the way that I do this is I basically take the FM synthesizer and then pick a note, and then I automate that all of these different parameters in a way that creates a pretty cool sound that I can use to make some heavy dubstep basses. So what I'm going to do right now, we said our key was F, so I'm going to solo this track right here and create a new empty MIDI region. And the way I usually do this is I make the note one measure long, and then I can kind of chop it up from there. So right here is our note. And that doesn't sound very good at all right now. But if you see this right here, if I just play this note on repeat, we can change stuff like this. So there's all sorts of potential sounds that you can get with this. I just flattened them all out. So anyway, I'm actually going to close this now. And then I'm going to go to the automation menu. I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to automate. And I'll make this a little bigger. So I'm going to go to retro synth right now. And then if I look at oscillator, the FM harmonic, inharmonic, intensity, shape, oscillator mix, all this stuff are these knobs right here, and then there's some other ones. But basically, you can automate anything on this synth. So I'll go back here to the automation window, and I'll go to oscillators again, and let's try this. Let's see, I want to start the harmonic here, and then maybe have it go up, have it stay up for a while, and then go back down. So let's see what that sounds like. So I'll change that a little bit because I didn't like it as much. Let's try something like this. I didn't like it staying flat for a while. And that's too long, I think. So that's one thing you can do. And what I like to do is just play around and experiment and see what works, see what doesn't. Sometimes you can get a really good sound quickly. Sometimes it takes a little longer. Either one, it's okay. Now let me try something like this. Let's see if I do a similar pattern, what it'll sound like. That didn't really change a whole lot. And now I'm just experimenting like I just said. Let's get this intensity up. Too much. You know what, I'll automate this too. And it doesn't have to go all the way to 100%. So right now I'm kind of getting this sound, and what and I'll end up bouncing the whole file, but I'm gonna end up chopping that one measure thing into more like quarter notes and eighth notes that I can use. Let's see what else I can mess with. FM shape, why not? Oh, that's cool. Let's see if I go a little inverted, see what that sounds like. That's pretty cool. I might make this come up quicker. Actually, let's see. The harmonic, I think that's what's... I'm going to have this come up quicker. And let's have it come from down here. Maybe not all the way up. Yeah. All right, something like that. Let's see what else I can add here. Okay. There's also some things that we could work on, which if I go back to the retro synth and I play this, look, watch this right here. So I got to find this modular carrier thing. If you don't know how to find something on automation, you can just change it to, let's see, from read to touch right here. So if I do this, oscillator mix, perfect. So I can go down here, I'll go back to read, and then I'll go to oscillator mix right here. And let's see how that changes it. No, I don't like that. Maybe start inverted. It's kind of like this. Okay. Let me change the filter envelope as well on the synthesizer right here. Too much. I like that. That's much better. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bounce this track, and yep, I'll normalize it. Now I'll mute this. You can hide it if you want, doesn't matter. And now I'm going to manipulate this audio file. So I'm going to turn this volume down because we normalized it. I'll solo it. So we have multiple different things that we can do here. But first I'm going to use I'm going to close out of that. First I'm going to use a stock plugin that I use a lot. And that's I use the Bit Crusher as a soft clipper. And the way to do this is to have the resolution as high as it can be, have the downsampling at 1x, and we don't want to downsample it at all. And all we're doing is basically just putting the drive up, and it will fatten it up. But this right here is the limit, so it'll just clip off anything that goes over that, causing some pretty cool distortion. So I'm going to turn this down for a sec, and then show you what happens when I mess with this drive right here. So now it sounds a bit more aggressive and full. And I also kind of use that as a limiter when I'm dealing with these like crunchy basses. You can throw a limiter on as well if you prefer. But anyway, I'm also going to put a little bit of chorus, flanger, and phaser on. Nothing too crazy, but just enough to kind of make it sound a little bit nicer, better. So I'll go to modulation, chorus. And I'm just going to pick one of these stock plugins, default settings. So let's try glittering. It's too much, so I just turn the mix down. So that's with it on. Maybe turn a little bit up. So it sounds a little bit wider, a little bit more full. Now I'm going to add the flanger, and you can add whatever you want, whatever sounds good. And I'll pick another stock. I'll do. I'll try orange. Why not? Orange is one of my favorite colors. So that's way too much. So now with the chorus and the flanger off, it sounds like this. A little bit more dry, and now like this. It sounds a little bit less intense and a little bit easier to listen to. And then I am going to add a tiny bit of phaser as well. So right here, I'll pick another stock. We'll do light medium. Way too much. Oh, something looks like it glitched. Let's try 12%. All right, so with all that off and the bit crusher off, sounds like that. And then with all this on, sounds a bit nicer. Now I'm going to put a little bit of reverb on it. Nothing too crazy, but just to kind of fill it out a little bit more. So maybe like if I go to the space designer and I pick a medium space, maybe I'll do a room. And you can pick whatever. Medium room. I'll do piano warmth. We'll just see how it sounds. Way too reverby, so I'll turn the wet knob down. Perfect. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an EQ on this. And I'm going to cut off the low ends because that's where our sub's going to be. So something like this. Maybe a little bit lower. And I'm also going to put in a directional mixer because our low frequencies are kind of all over the place. So what I'm going to do is turn the crossover on. 180, 200, doesn't matter. And then I'm going to just have no spread there. So we can see that effect right now. So if I have it on, these frequencies are kind of all together for the most part. And then if this was off, they're kind of farther apart doing their own thing. So now I am going to EQ this a little bit more. I'm going to turn the lows up a little bit more. Something like that. And And then I think that's pretty good so far. I got to turn this back on, the directional mixer. And I'm going to put another bit crusher kind of acting like a limiter. It's not going to have any drive at all. And now I'm going to bounce this track. And you don't have to bounce it from here. You can just edit it using all the effects. But I want to bounce it for multiple reasons. So I don't really care what it's called. You can call it whatever you want. So now I'm going to turn this way down because this is going to be loud. I'll mute this track. So I'll solo this. And now what I'm going to do is make a copy of this. This will be like our main track. And I'm going to kind of chop it up and see what sections of this I like. I definitely like this. I'll do the quarter note. So I'm going to drag this quarter note over here. And here's this. And to make it sound a little bit more like a dubstep or a rhythm bass, I'm going to hit Command and click. That is my secondary click is the fade tool. So it'll sound more like this. So I like that. Let's look, what else do we have here? I definitely like this. That sounds like it's kind of crumbling down. So maybe something like this. Oh, that's totally cool. So if I put that right here, and I'll fade it as well. And another way to fade it, you can click on this and then fade in. You see this, it's kind of hard on the green. But we see the fade right there. And then if we fade it out, we get the same thing. So let's listen to that. Let's see what that sounds like right together. Oh, whoops. So I do like this combination. So if we play this together, we have it right here. And let's see what else we have. Oh, I like that too. I might chop this up and make it an eighth note, kind of like this, and then if I make a copy of it, let's see what that sounds like. What I'm going to do is actually do like the vinyl break sound. So if I do a fade by hitting Command and clicking, and I'll change it to slow down. Let's see what this sounds like. Let's make it a little more intense. I like that. I might even make this a little shorter. Change this. If I make this a triplet, so I'm going to make this measured into triplets right here. I like that. So let's see what 3 of those sound like together. Or 6, really. That's pretty cool. And you can, and once again, all of this is personal preference and experimentation. So let me now make a new track, bring these over here, and let's put this right here. See how this sounds with everything. That sounded pretty good. I think we could fatten this up. And one thing you could do is put another layer under this. I'm not going to do that for this tutorial, but you could, if you wanted to fatten it up, put another layer. I might put another bit crusher and add a little bit more distortion just to make this a little bit heavier. So let's see. I like this in the end, so maybe I'll do something like this. Like this, and let's just see what some more saturation sounds like. That's probably gonna be way too much. I'll turn it down. That's pretty good. I am going to change the fades here, though. I'm going to make this a little bit more dramatic. I'm going to do one more type of bass from our main thing. Join this back together by hitting Command J. I don't need a new one. So I have this sound right here. I'm going to do something triplet-y. And now this is the other one. I'll make this a triplet too. Let's see what this sounds like. Oh, I like that. All right, let's copy that and see what that sounds like with everything. Mute this. So I'm gonna extend this, and then we're gonna alter this a bit. And what I like to do sometimes is I'm gonna change this to a new track. I sometimes like to change the pitch, so I'm gonna pitch this down to an octave lower, 12 semitones lower. So let's see what that sounds like. Ooh. So that is cool. So let's see what it all sounds like together. So I'm gonna make this a little bit brighter right here. So let's see what that sounds like. Oh, that sounds good. And I am going to turn the lows down on this one. The last thing I'm going to do is kind of add some background elements. So I'm just going to add a very basic synth. I'll do the ES2. Actually, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to do one of my presets that I have. And let's see. What does this sound like? No. Ambient spook. Yeah, I like this one. I've used this in multiple tracks of mine. So I'm just going to throw this in the background. And then I think we're good enough to call it a day for this demo track. So I'm going to do F. There we go. And this is pretty loud, so I'll turn this down. And the last thing I am going to do is just throw everything into a side chain. So I'll make a track stack. And I'll add a compressor to this. And I will do it to Chunky Kick. Let's see, well, which one's this one? Chunky Kick BIP. There we go. So let's see how this sounds. Turn the ambient spook up one more time. And then, so yeah, that's basically it. I'll play this one more time, and then we will call it a day. Hopefully this helps inspire some creative ideas where you can make some interesting sounds. And by the way, I kind of did this quickly, this little process quickly of creating the space, but you can add a lot more effects. You can automate a lot more things. You can layer things. There's all sorts of things you can do. But anyway, here's the final product that we got, and hope to see you in the next video.